Good time of day to you this Wednesday. We have so much to discuss about Ukraine today. Remember the ongoing drama with the Russian opposition media channel Dozhd or Rain TV that lost their license to broadcast in Latvia because they were supposedly helping the Russian army with ammunition and basic frontline comforts? There have been a few very noteworthy developments on their case. Russians are in panic after alleged Ukrainian drone attack on a number of their airfields. So much so in panic that Institute for the Study of War thinks that Russians are preparing for the second wave of mobilization despite their denials. And Ukraine has issued a statement on their further capabilities of striking within Russia, describing it as, "We have no limits." At the same time, in the past 24 hours in Germany, German authorities managed to prevent a coup d'etat that has been organized against the current German government. 25 out of more than 50 suspects have been arrested. The coup was allegedly planned by the representatives of a noble family, a former parliament member, and a former military, allegedly connected to having served in East Germany. Russian connections? Wink, wink. So stick around to find out in depth about these and many more events, as today's newscast is going to be extensive. Hi, my name is Yulia and you're watching Wednesday News Briefly, where we discuss everything that happened in and pertaining to Ukraine in the past 24 hours, as well as highlight important events this week in under 20 minutes. Let's go. I'm gonna have to speed through this week's highlights because we have so much to talk about today. Ombudsman of Ukraine Dmytro Lubinets said that since February, over 2,800,000 Ukrainians were forced to leave or were forcefully deported to the territory of Russia. The critic of the Chechen army general and leader of the Republic of Chechen, who betrayed his country in the Second Chechen War and basically made it Putin's proxy, Ramzan Kadyrov, current strongest Chechen opposition blogger Tunso Abdurrahmanov, was killed in Sweden. Upon the arrival of more and more threats containing animal tissues to various embassies in Spain and worldwide, Dmytro Kuleba came out with two statements. Politicians, experts, representatives of the media, and academia abroad, I know that it is difficult for some of you to imagine the Ukrainian victory, but we are on the way to it. It is better to prepare for the defeat of Russia now rather than trying to explain why Ukraine cannot or should not win. In this speech, he's addressing all of the foreign politicians who are still having a hard time coping that they're going to have to figure out their own countries without dependence on Russia. And it's better to start doing it now. Then also address the culprits of the threats to the embassies. Ask those who continue to send these packages and terrorize our embassies to relax and stop wasting time and money on postage stamps. You won't achieve anything with this. And he's right. Ukrainians are not easily scared off. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas said that it would be dangerous to seek peace talks with Russia now if we're talking about achieving lasting peace in Europe. Russia's demands for security guarantees are a cover for its war of aggression and war crimes, as well as its way to promote the policy of spheres of influence in order to deprive states of the right to independently determine their foreign and defense policy. And while her strong-worded speech is incredibly appreciated, another European leader, Emmanuel Macron, has returned to his servitude to helping Russia. He recently said that Europe should start working on providing Russia with security guarantees because, as Putin said, he's scared of NATO attacking. Basically, by that speech saying that there is a threat of Russia being attacked by NATO, which there isn't, so he is kind of throwing himself and Europe under the bus, but I digress. For his recent baffling statement, he has been called not credible anymore. And please let me know what you think about this statement in the comments. I'm going to read it to you verbatim. One of the essential points we must address, as Russian President Vladimir Putin has always said, is the fear that NATO comes right up to its doors and the deployment of weapons that could threaten Russia. I'm gonna catch you up to speed on what happened with the Russian TV channel Dozhd or Rain TV, and the best way to do it is show you this clip.
Из написанных историй на нашей почте и в Telegram-бот становится опубликованным. Мы надеемся, что многим военнослужащим, в том числе, мы смогли помочь, например, с оснащением и с просто элементарными удобствами на фронте, потому что те истории, которые публиковались и рассказывались родственниками, ну, честно говоря, бросают в ужас. Ну а мы вернемся к...
Effectively, the TV channel advocated for helping the Russian military with basic comforts and gear. The international community was obviously outraged, and after that, the TV channel came out with a statement that this is not their position and it's just the position of the TV host, whom they fired and put all of the blame on. However, Latvia did not take that lightly and conducted a full investigation into the matter and also found out that Dozhd has referred to Russian military as their military multiple times and said a couple of controversial statements. Upon the investigation, their license was revoked for broadcasting in Latvia, and not only. Apparently, the license entailed that they could broadcast in Latvia, in other EU countries, in the US and Canada. Lithuania followed suit and forbade them from broadcasting in the country as well. Of course, in the best Russian fashion, the founders of the TV channel came out and said that the decision to do so was a farce. Why is it that Russians always say something is a farce when they don't agree with it? However, the EU countries let Dozhd appeal this decision, and so they did. And here's what happened next, and you can't even make this up. Delphi, which is Latvia's version of Bellingcat, basically a very highly respected publication, stated this. The head of the National Media Authority describes how representatives from Dozhd came to their meeting without an interpreter, expecting to hold the meeting with authorities in Russian. In Latvia. Good morning. One literally cannot make this up. So, Russian opposition media that was trying to portray themselves as so respectful of other cultures and completely unrelated to the regular Russians and regular Russian media decided to disrespect the authorities in the country in which they were appealing the decision and demanded that they have the meeting with them in Russian, in a foreign country that is also decolonizing from Russian influences. Following the news about Dozhd being suspended, Russian Telegram channels are openly calling on their subscribers living in the Baltic states to transmit important information about potential targets for Russian military in the future. Say hello to the Russian world. Missile strikes have happened in the following cities. Head of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Military Administration Valentin Reznichenko said that Russians attacked the region during the night with Shahed drones made by Iran. However, the military command east took down all of the Shaheds. Zaporizhia was also attacked during the night with drones and S-300 missiles. Preliminarily, there are 3 wounded, among them a 15-year-old girl. A massive attack was also launched on the town of Kurakhove in Donetsk region. At least 8 civilians were killed and 5 were wounded, and that's just preliminary. And in the same region, Avdiivka was attacked with what looks like phosphorus munitions. Take a look at the video footage. Around 8 p.m. Kyiv time, 2 missiles also fell on the village of Pechenihe, Kharkiv region, both taken down by Ukrainian air defense. Preliminarily, no victims were recorded. Earlier this week, the US government was looking for an alternative to recognizing Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, and today, the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee approved a resolution to name Russia's actions in Ukraine as a genocide against Ukrainian people. Next step might be to put the document in front of the Senate. Earlier last month, when Kherson was liberated, Ukrainian authorities have stated that Kherson was mined much more than Kyiv region was in the beginning of this invasion. 4 policemen were killed in Kherson region because they exploded on Russian mines. The victims were police officers from Cherkasy region, including the head of the Cherkasy police department. 4 more policemen were brutally wounded, and now the doctors are fighting for their lives. Ukraine received more military aid from Germany. 20 more Dingo armored vehicles, as well as 2 M170 Oshkosh tank tractor transporters. Germany has also received a signal from the United States on the supply of Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Allegedly in October, the United States stated that they support the transfer of Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, but it has to be done on Germany's initiative. The US today has also agreed on the 2023 preliminary assistance to Ukraine. At least 800 million will be dedicated to the cause. But this bill is not final and still has to pass through Senate and House. Germany and Poland agreed on the Patriot air defense systems deployment. Earlier this week, Germany denied Poland's request to place those air defense systems on the territory of Ukraine, even though Poland pled that this would increase security of both Poland and Ukraine significantly. Today they have agreed that Patriot systems will be placed on the territory of Poland, very close to the Ukrainian border. Do you remember the January 6th insurrection attempt in US? Well, something very similar allegedly was being planned in Germany. German police conducted a large-scale operation against a far-right extremist group who, according to the Justice Department, was planning a coup d'etat. They were preparing to storm the German parliament, and 25 out of more than 50 suspects have been identified and arrested. Later, Der Spiegel, another very respected German publication, reported that 2 organizers of the coup were identified. These are the so-called Prince Heinrich VIII, who was supposed to act as the new leader of Germany, and a 69-year-old former paratrooper, Rüdiger P. Heinrich. He's a member of a noble family, and interestingly, he was in contact with the Russian authorities, asking them to help him. Now, would you guess what the Russian embassy in Berlin said? They're denying the links to the German far-right groups. Of course. Last week we found out that multiple embassies and consulates of Ukraine in different European countries have been receiving threats in the form of envelopes with animal eyes in them. Today, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba, stated that Ukrainian diplomats and diplomatic missions are continuing to receive threats. 31 cases in 15 countries have been recorded so far. Those include Austria, Romania, Hungary, Spain, the US, and Poland. Despite all of these threats, the embassies, consulates, and diplomatic missions continue functioning as normal with increased security. As you might know, there is very few things that can break Ukrainians. Pope Francis compared Russia's war against Ukraine with the German operation against Jews in World War II. This happened soon after Lviv Mayor Andriy Sadovy handed over to Pope Francis a cross with a fragment of a Russian missile that was pulled out of a 13-year-old girl, Anastasia, following a Russian attack on her city. The Time magazine named Volodymyr Zelensky the Person of the Year and revealed its cover. Prime Minister of Georgia says that they will not be providing military assistance to Ukraine, citing quite a bogus and strange argument. I want to remind once again that officials in Ukraine have publicly stated that their desire is to open a second front in Georgia. When? Where? Cite your sources, sir. The ruling force in our country is responsible to its people and is guided solely by the interest of its people and the state. Regarding the provision of military assistance, we have previously clearly stated we will not do it, said the Prime Minister of the Republic, Irakli Garibashvili. You know, the interesting thing is that when Russia attacked Georgia in 2008, Ukraine was one of the first countries to provide aid, and guess whose president flew out there specifically to show support? There is no news cycle without positive updates, so I present you with this. Ukraine has returned 60 more defenders back home. Those include soldiers of the armed forces, of the National Guard, and border guards. Among them are 15 officers and 45 privates and sergeants. Unfortunately, it does not look like any of them are from the regiment Azov. Russia refuses to exchange Azov servicemen. Out of over 300 POWs exchanged back to the territory controlled by Ukraine since late September, only 11 were Azov. And 2 very big events are happening that are going to help Ukrainian civilians severely. Coca-Cola and the Red Cross are going to deliver 70,000 food packages to those in need in Ukraine, amounting to 4.7 million euros monetary value. Real Madrid, the Spanish soccer team, however, takes the cake with their generosity. They're going to provide 20 electricity generators to the Ukrainian people. In Kharkiv, a Christmas tree was set up at Universitet metro station. The mayor of Kharkiv said that there is a war going on and it's inappropriate to set the Christmas tree at the main square, which we do yearly. But to keep the much-needed Christmas mood going, the tree was set up underground, where it's safe. Anyways, earlier this week, allegedly Ukraine committed a drone strike on Russia's air bases in Kursk and Saratov regions, which really brought the occupiers into panic. Ukraine managed to destroy a couple of missile carriers on Russian air bases, and it sent Russians in such a frenzy of panic that they have set up air raid sirens in Saratov and began building defensive fortifications called Dragon Teeth in Kursk. The governor of the region said that they will strengthen the borders, and they already started digging trenches. Clearly uncomfortable by this news, according to the Institute for the Study of War, Russian officials are preparing for the second wave of mobilization, despite all of their official denials. US State Department spokesman Ned Price, commenting on the explosions at Russian airfields, made it a point to officially state that the US did not encourage such actions from the Ukrainian side and did not provide Ukraine with weapons that could strike as far as into the territory of Russia. Funny how the US feels the need to say that they're not encouraging Ukraine to defend ourselves. An unnamed defense advisor to the Ukrainian government told the Financial Times that after the strikes on Russian air bases, Ukraine no longer has restrictions on the range of strikes onto Russian territory. And here it is in his own words. We have no distance restrictions, and soon we will be able to reach all targets inside Russia, including in Siberia. In Ukraine, we know how difficult it is to defend against such air attacks. Soon, there will be no safe zones in Russia either. Oof, how the turntables. Unlike the US, the spokesman for the German federal government said that Ukraine has all the rights to defend itself not only on its own territory. Meanwhile, in Russia, Putin is trying to deflect and distract from the recent failures of Russian air defense. He called the seizure of new territories of Ukraine a significant result of the so-called special military operation. Of course, this is a long process, but the emergence of new territories is a significant result for Russia. The Sea of Azov has become an inland sea, and most importantly, the people who live there, they're now with us. Yeah, they're so excited to have you that they're protesting and starting partisan movements, but go off. At the same time, which is important, the Russian president admitted that there is in fact a war. The war was not started by us, but in 2014, after the coup d'etat in Ukraine, it was started by the Ukrainian authorities, which came with the help of this coup to suppress the will of citizens living in Donbass. Yeah, those same citizens that fled en masse and also, right before you seized their homes, supported Maidan, erupting in huge protests. Since when does Putin care about the will of the people? This delusional madness continues in him saying, "The only true guarantor of Ukraine's territorial integrity within its current borders could be Russia. While nationalist elements in Poland are sleeping and dreaming to take away the Western territories that Ukraine received thanks to Stalin's decisions after World War II. I frankly don't know what kind of medication Russians are on with their recent propaganda stunts. But no one in their right mind, not even the Polish people themselves, believe that Poland wants Western Ukraine back. And Putin knows that his army is failing miserably in Ukraine, and so according to NATO, he's trying to freeze the conflict in the winter to regroup and launch a larger-scale offensive in the spring. In the words of NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, there are no conditions for a diplomatic solution now. The more we want a peaceful solution, the more urgently we need to provide military support to Ukraine. He said, adding that Russia has shown no signs of wanting a peaceful end to the war. You don't say. Which one of the atrocious genocides and crimes against humanity pointed you to believe that? Was it Mariupol? Was it Bucha? Or was it Bakhmut that is currently, with the speed of light, turning into new Mariupol? Take a look at these pictures to see for yourself. I wish I had better news to wrap this up with, but unfortunately that's all I have for you for today. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it informative, please don't forget to like it, comment, subscribe, and turn on all of your notifications so you know when the new one comes out. And as always, check your news sources and don't fall for propaganda. I'll see you on Sunday.